but not all run out and washed out.
I'd like to call this meeting to order for the Town Council meeting December 5th, 2018. We can all rise for pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everybody. We have, let's do a roll call real quick.
Mike McLaughlin here.
Debbie Cock here.
Marty Lisenby here.
Paul Edwardson here. Benny Bassler.
And number one, Mayor's Town Update. Just like to recognize that, holy cow, is this room filled with a lot of special people. Mayor Campbell, why don't you stand up, everybody? This is Robert Campbell. He was our mayor for a long time. Everything in the town. Trevor Black. Trevor, stand up. This guy. How many years have you worked for the town, Trevor? Just
About 7.
7?
2 minutes.
Long time. Councilman, he was out there on the road grader to digging ditches, to a lot of things. He's a tremendous asset to the community. We got in the back row, we got Harold Merritt from the Water District here. Down a little bit more, we got Bruce. Bruce, why don't you stand up for a second? I just got to tell everybody that this is a young man or old guy, whatever he wants to go by, but this is the guy that invited me up to his house because he wanted to have a meeting. And I just appreciated that so much that he was willing to come to me and say, let's talk about some issues. And if you don't know where he lives, he's got that house that's on top of the mountain that's way in the heck up there. There's a little tiny road that's about this steep to get up there. I thought we were going to die just getting up to the house. And amazing cabin on top of this, views to die for. And we sat there for a couple of hours and chit-chatted about the town and issues and how can we come up with some solutions. And he's even offered to help us pay for some of those solutions. So my hat's off to Bruce for engaging us with that. And I look forward to working with him, as part of my council as far as just ideas for out in your area, bubbling wells. So I appreciate that you took your time to do that. And then we've got Forrest over here. Forrest, I don't usually point out everybody in here, but Forrest is like this book that's walking around. He's this encyclopedia of information. And if you want to know why you can't do something, he's a good guy to go to because he does know the code.
I don't know how to do things, but I know how not to do them.
So he's our kind of our go-to guru. Next to him, Jerry. He's one of our volunteers for Road Grader. I'd just like you to know each other, who's doing what to help things with. And Jerry's gone out there to help do some road grading. Next to him is Wen, his wife, and also on our planning commission, and Janet from the planning commission. So I feel like we have celebrities everywhere. And I should mention my office staff. Tish Lisenby, she's here as well. She's funny. But anyway, there's a lot of people it takes to run the town, and we have some good people around us. And I don't want to skip one of the most important people, and that's Ben. Ben's our accounting expert that's really helped us unravel a lot of the billing issues and so forth, and has really helped it put together with some confidence of where we're at with those. So,
Last but not least.
and well, Michelle, of course, she's one of the most amazing people. I don't know if you guys noticed, we mentioned a couple of meetings ago that someone took pity on us and dropped a vacuum off the front doorstep. I'm just happy to report that someone also dropped a desk off at the front doorstep, and it just happened to fit where her space is. And we appreciate that donation. And but if you haven't seen her new desk, it's pretty freaking amazing. So it's pretty cool. Anyway, I just wanted to say about Ben and the building with the water department. We are going to handle that stuff tomorrow night's meeting at the water district at their request. They want to do it in public, and I would imagine what they're going to do is tear me apart. I'm up to the task, though. I'm ready for whatever they throw at me. So But anyway, I still appreciate Harold being here, and at the same time, if you are interested in any water bill issues this is regarding the town to the district and who owes who money. We will have that tomorrow night's meeting, so if you'll attend that meeting, we'll hammer that out. I'm not gonna bring anything up tonight on it, so. Anyway, as far as the rest of Mayor's Town update, we did have a meeting with UDOT this afternoon, and it was kind of a magical moment when we're talking about different projects, and I've kind of realigned some of my thinking. They wanted to put a turn lane, or excuse me, passing lanes from the top of the Hurricane Hill, the second hill up towards us, extend that passing lane into cinder pit areas around mile marker 15.8. So it's almost, not quite to the cinder pits, but there's about a 1.5 mile extension of passing lane they want to put there. The other one is outside of Hilldale. They feel like they have accidents happening out there because that slow down area, people get all congested, and they want to put a passing lane right outside of Hilldale heading our direction that helps that traffic get spread out easier. Slow people can be to the right, and people want to get ahead of them can do so on the left. They feel like that will put together a pattern of traffic that travels better, and that was their two suggestions. My suggestion to them was, let's go out there. I don't know for sure the street, Bubbling Wells, I'll call it that turn off to Bubbling Wells. I said, that's my target area. My preference would be to see turn lanes put in there for the safety of the community. What they're kind of talking about is actually just a center lane that goes along there for probably a mile, 1.5 miles. That's because there's a lot of driveways that hit that highway, and just even right next to that turn at Bubbling Wells, just to the left a little bit, 50 feet, 100 feet away, there's a driveway that hits Highway 59. It's just that kind of stuff shouldn't happen on a highway like that. And they're a little bit of pushback from them on that, and their reasoning for that is that they're taking a local problem that we've let be created, and we're asking them to fix it all for us. And so they would probably be willing to help, but they want us to help as well. And so I'm not quite sure that I got accomplished what I hoped to in getting turn lanes put in right there, but or at least maybe a left turn, a center lane is what they want to call it. And so at least you have a lane you can pull into, and that's the most dangerous part of it. Anyway, I'm not sure what impact I made, but I suggested that it would be a good idea safety-wise to do that. And if they can't do that, the minimum would be that let's right through that corridor, at least for that mile, 1.5 miles, slow that traffic down to about 50. Put up some of the speed limit signs that flash when they're going too fast to help slow that traffic down, at least where you guys are at, to help limit the, try to lower that speed limit down so when you're stopping to turn, the traffic's not heading at you at 80 miles an hour. And so I said that I'd be willing to help buy those signs if we could help make that happen, and just figuring out, can we legally lower those speed limits down? They're pushing to make that happen. I don't know that we'll reach there. There is some law behind that they have engineering studies that have to be done that justify that. So when they go to court, they can say that we didn't do this just as a speed trap, just because we can get more revenue. It's because of these accidents, it's because of these reasons. And a recent accident right there would probably help that cause a little bit. There was one there a few weeks back. And so that's my hope, is that we can at least lower that speed limit down there at a minimum until they have the money to put that center lane in, because that's something we could do today. Lowering speed limits isn't super popular. I put out, asked for people to sign, a petition that I wanted to take to this meeting so I could show them that the residents of Apple Valley, they want lower speed limits, and it didn't happen. Nobody really wants them. What they want is the state to come in and pave that road 4 lanes wide in both directions for 12 miles. And so they actually have some of that on all of these improvements, small improvements we're talking about, not even huge ones. Turn lanes here, put a wider shoulder here, adds up to $25 million, and what we have is $3.5 million to work with. And so I mean, we could realistically be 10 more years before we see turn lanes, you know, by building wells. And it was not as high on the priority list based on the way it's quite interesting. They go through item by item and assign different risk categories to each one to come up with what's the most bang for the buck, so to speak. And, you know, it was down around the middle, it wasn't at the top, but anyway, my point is if we could at least lower the speed limit down, that's something we could do today that's relatively inexpensive, and I think it would help save lives today. And I also suggested that we slow the traffic down, you know, around the station, through the cabin project down here. And if we just have even a mile slow down right there, put up some flashing lights again that read the speed out that you're traveling, I think it will help at least lower the speed a little bit in those two quarters. But anyway, they are going to be doing the improvements for the shoulder area, I guess is what we call it. They're spending $3.5 million just on shoulders. That's how far that money goes. It's not even a lot, in my opinion. And they hope to start that project by summer. It's finishing engineering and it's going to be going out for bid anytime. So, anyway, I think that's about all I have for.
What about Main Street?
On Main Street. So I'm standing there with Victor Iverson and UDOT, and we're all, I mean, the meeting's over and we're just chit-chatting, and I want to show Victor Iverson my vision for the Main Street. Basically, what I want to do is try to turn that connection of Main Street, it's kind of at a real sharp angle, and I want to create an S through there that basically, so when you're actually going across 59, you're going across at a 90-degree angle to the roadway. So you're not cranking your neck trying to look down the lane because it's so crooked. And just instead of moving the road like we've heard as a proposal before, just making an S so it goes through there to end 90 and then back onto Main Street again. And I've got these guys standing there, and Victor says, I kind of like that idea. It seemed like that would be pretty easy to pull off. I says, any chance we can get you guys to pave that road? He says, well, maybe you can do it. And he says, but I think UDOT can help us with that intersection. He calls the UDOT guy over there and says, don't you have some money available you could help us do this? The guy says, yeah, I've got about $900,000. I could probably do that intersection for you. And just like that, we're moving this road through an S turn with a promise from UDOT, yeah, we could probably do that. And if I get the county to help do this, get some developer money, and we got Main Street, you know, paved and through there. And I mean, in 5 minutes it was, and then UDOT says, oh, well, we got a drone. We can bring the drone out here, and that goes up in the air about 400 feet and shines down on there and just gives us all of the measurements that we need to be able to engineer this as well. So we can do that. It only takes about 15 minutes, so we'll come out and we'll just do that for you. And Victor says, can you schedule that right away? He says, yeah, I can get on that right away. I mean, these guys want to spend the money right now because they got the money already in the budget to do this right now. And so we might see at least these turn lanes done right away. Not the turn lanes and the intersection configuration. And anyway, I'm going to push forward with it. We'll see how quick we can make this happen. And it was just a kind of exciting 10 minutes or so when at the end of the meeting we're talking to these guys and they're all saying, yeah, I could do that. Yeah, I could do that. You know, it was really great. So anyway, so let's look for something like that to happen. Anyway, so that's it for Mayor's Town Update. Number 2 on our agenda says appointment of town council member to the Washington County Solid Waste Board. And we've got a resolution number 2018-24. And what did we decide, Mike? You're going to do, Mike McLaughlin is going to be on that board. It's just a matter of, you know, 4 meetings a year. I think there's maybe another one that is year-end budget type of meeting. So anyway, I would move that we nominate Mike McLaughlin as our representative council member to the Washington County Solid Waste Board.
Second that.
Vote.
Aye.
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 Motion carries.
Okay.
And item number 3, adoption of ordinance 2018-22, increase of municipal energy tax and use tax from 1.5% to 6%. When I became mayor, we had the budget stuff to go over, and this was on the original budget for the town to increase this tax. And it was soon after being in there, you know, we discovered none of the paperwork had been done. And then it also took me a couple months to figure out how to do the paperwork and find the documents, get legal to write it up. And so we're a little bit behind times on this a little bit, but basically it's just this is equalizing us with every other community in southern Utah, at least that I've studied. There isn't one that doesn't charge 6%. We're just the only one that doesn't. And so we're just trying to catch up with that, and it is part of our budget. So this isn't a public hearing kind of a moment, but I'm happy to listen to anybody's comments about this. If anybody wants to comment about it. No concerns out there?
What is energy sales?
It's a tax that's on your Rocky Mountain power bill right now. It's 1.5%, and it's going to change to 6%.
Okay.
So basically, that's the bottom line on it.
If Questar ever came up here or anything like that, it would be on the Questar bill as well.
So motion to accept that?
I move we adopt ordinance 2018-22, increase of municipal energy sales and use tax from 1.5% to 6%.
I'll second that.
And vote?
No.
Okay.
Aye.
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 Motion carries. And item number 4, discussion and possible action on town development building policies. We have a policy that's in place that basically lays out, it's not an ordinance, it's just a policy. And the policy is kind of like a guiding light of what we want to see. Anytime that the policy is in the way of an ordinance, the ordinance is what takes precedence over the action of the town. So in the case of, you know, what we're fixing today is there's a couple of items on here that are conflicting with some of our current ordinances, and I was just trying to correct a couple of those things. So on the under road access, there was one item that I wanted everybody to mark up on their copy. Under road access, it says.
Marty, can we see that on the screen by any chance?
I apologize, we don't have a computer that's working out here. We're not able to show that, but do we have a copy of those? Let me just read this to you.
Okay.
At least. What this says under road access is all new commercial, industrial, manufacturing businesses, RV or other parks, subdivisions, lot splits, or other division of land shall require a traffic study. And what we want to pull out of that is lot splits and other divisions of land. And so what that means is in order for me, like Title 11 allows me as a mayor to go out there and take 1,000 acres and divide it into 500 acres. This policy says that I have to have a traffic study to do that. And so even though ordinance would trump this, I would rather just have it in harmony. And so I want to pull lot split or other subdivision of land out of that requirement. And so it doesn't preclude us, I mean subdivisions, RV parks, other businesses, industrial, all that still have to do the traffic study. It's just pulling out the lot split and traffic out of there. Then if we go to, and that, by the way, wasn't marked up on your copy, so you just hand mark it. It's something I noticed that I missed.
Where is
And
it at exactly?
it's on the front page, first line of road access. It says lot split or other subdivisions of land. I just want to strike that. Did you see that? Okay. On the next page, It says no new commercial or residential developments or subdivisions or lot splits will be approved that access off Highway 59 at or about 1400 North or Falls Drive, until such time those locations are fully improved with safe access as defined above, which is the turn lanes and so forth. And so on that paragraph, I think what we're looking to do is, I had just to take out lot split, and I'm wondering if we should leave in lot split, but just say we can't do more than 3 lots, which is what our Title 11 ordinance says as well. So Title 11 just says that it's like a farmland, we can divide it into 3 pieces without, any fuss. But this says in order for me to do that, I gotta do a traffic study or have turn lanes installed to do that lot split. And so we're just trying to get this to coincide with that. So I think if we leave in or lot split and have it say in excess of 3 lots, if we add that to that, that would also just clean it up to where we're able to do that legally without any fuss with conflicting our ordinances. The next part of that line just says, will be improved that access is off 59 at or about 1400 North or Plains Drive. My feeling on striking that is, the reason I want to is that just is saying that at that particular intersection we can't do anything without safe access. And I think, what about the other streets we have? Why would we want to X those out of that equation? So in other words, by removing this, we're saying that at any intersection that hits Highway 59, if someone putting in a subdivision, we're going to require that they put in those turn lanes as well. And currently what it's saying is that only on Plains Drive do we have to do that. Any questions on that? Comments?
I say take that one out.
So let's just say in excess of 3 lots and leave the lot split in. Does that work okay, Michelle?
So the no new commercial or residential development or subdivisions, just tell me the wording exactly.
Yeah, and then or lot splits, leave that in.
Okay.
And then we'll put in excess of 3 lots, which now matches it up with Title 11. Does that sound right, Forrest? Any questions?
I'm not sure I've been following that well.
Okay, all
Oh,
right.
it does.
All right,
So
so,
a lot split is
Yeah,
a subdivision,
understand.
so it's kind of redundant.
yeah, it's what now?
A lot split is a subdivision, where it's included in subdivision, so
Yeah.
it's redundant, but other than that.
Well, what we're basically saying is if you're gonna divide it into 3 lots, you don't have to do a traffic study to do that.
Right.
And at Title 11, if it's rural land, it lets us do that as well, so I'm just matching those up. And also, I missed one up above, it's the 3rd paragraph down on page 2. And we're gonna pull out the or lot splits shall be approved, part of that, so that's marked up right on everybody's document here, if you have a copy of it. So we'll leave that one alone. And then the last page, we're striking that whole part of the code. Sean and I have had a conversation about it. It feels like it's not even legal to enforce something like that, so we're just striking that all together. Basically, it says that you can't apply for a zone change, for example, on a piece of property because you're in violation of the connex that's sitting next to your house, that kind of thing. So it feels like that's unenforceable, so we're just pulling that off altogether. Are there any questions from you guys?
No.
Any questions, Danny?
Can I make a couple of
Yes.
statements on this?
Yes.
So the subject of lot split comes up. So I'm looking at, Bruce Schubert, by the way, I'm looking at Title 11. And when you say lot split, I'm assuming we mean subdivision of 3 properties or 3 parcels or less. Because there's really no definition for lot split. What we're talking about is the ability to subdivide a maximum of 3 parcels.
Your neighbor, Mr. Brown, could come in and say, pull this 10 acres off, that's where I want to build my house, yeah.
Correct. And as you suggested, you could approve such a thing without having to go through all the rigmarole.
Right.
It actually says town staff, which could be anybody on the town staff theoretically.
Well, it's.
I'm
I
just
think
talking
it's-
about the ordinance, maybe not how you
Right.
actually practice. but I'm
I
talking
appreciate
about
you
the
pointing that
ordinance.
out. Right now, I'm the town staff, so.
Okay.
But I agree with you that.
I don't know what town staff means. I thought it would be town employees,
I agree.
town janitor, I don't know.
Exactly, we could have Michelle doing it, yeah.
Yes,
based on the
Michelle
way
could
it's
do
worded,
it.
So,
Good point.
so we could put the word authorized staff or something in there to help clean it out.
And the reason I point that out is because, so what this does is allow a subdivision with absolutely no oversight. There's no public notification, no city council involvement, no oversight whatsoever. It's a subdivision of less than 3 parcels, and I'm not saying that's a bad thing. The bad thing is, there's no limit to how many times you can do that. Our ordinance, theoretically, a person could do it. Well, I wanna end up with 27 parcels here, but I can't, there's a bunch of rigmarole you gotta go through. I'll just divide it 3 times. Then come back later, divide it 3 times again, and so on, with no oversight. So to me, there's a situation that was unintended in our ordinances that possibly should be addressed. It's a method by which the ordinances that intend for roads and infrastructure to go in place can be overridden by using this method with no oversight. One person, a clerk theoretically,
Right.
not paying attention, could allow this to happen.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that probably should be
Yeah,
addressed.
I would say that's an unintended consequence, that it's something we didn't intend to have. We can have the
Didn't
plan-
think so.
We'll have the planning commission look at that, and it could probably be cleaned up. It seemed like you remember there being some conversation about maybe we limit how many times a year that could be
Yeah,
done.
I thought there was something in there that said you can only do it so many times in like a 2-year window or something like that.
That's what I was thinking.
Something like that?
That's in the state code, which we don't meet, by the way.
Maybe meeting the state code would be a starting point.
It would probably be very good because they like to see that happen, but we.
Well, anyway, I appreciate you bringing that to our attention. We'll see about, maybe we can have planning commission, pick that back up again. Make some recommendations on that, so. Anyway, do we have a motion to accept the changes on town policies, or I guess okay with this?
I make a motion that we accept the changes as noted on town development and building policies.
Here in that area. Oh, in her.
Second that.
Vote.
Yeah.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
Oh, one more for me.
Approval of minutes for 11/7/2018.
I read the minutes, and Michelle, they are like spot on for such a lengthy meeting. Perfection.
She's awesome, what can we say?
There's a lot of cities that have that in the.
You guys have any comments or anything about it? We're okay? Motion.
I make a motion, we accept the minutes as stated for November 7, 2018.
Second.
Go ahead.
I'll second that.
And vote?
Aye.
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 And I don't know if, we got some people here that aren't usually here, so I want to point out something on these minutes. Do you guys have a copy of those minutes at all in your thing, or it's just in us? Okay. So on the minute packets, I just, I saw some here, where some of these discussion actions take place. If you ever open up the minutes in your home and you're reading them, there'll be a timestamp down here. That timestamp coincides with our audio recording and the video recording. So you don't have to fish around looking for that part of the meeting you wanted to hear about. You can just go right to that on the audio recording and video recording. So we coordinate that. I turn this on, I turn on the video. At the same time she does the timer, so that way we can timestamp all this. And I love that Michelle's doing that for us, because it helps us stay, makes it easy for you guys later on to find stuff. And so let's see, our next item on the is our consent calendar.
reviewed it. Accepted.
Any questions about?
Nope,
This
everything
calendar.
matches up.
Straightforward? Okay.
If I can make just a quick comment on it.
Yes.
So typically, we're gonna be seeing more than just a check register on this consent calendar. It's been an exciting 2 weeks in Apple Valley, and a really exciting first 2 weeks on the job. So moving forward, I anticipate we'll be seeing a income statement on a monthly basis. I didn't want to produce financial statements that weren't reconciled, and so that was the reason for seeing maybe a little bit less than we see in a typical month.
And by the way, Ben, on these meeting days, he comes in at 10, and so his day's over at 6, so he's here as a volunteer after that, but he will be doing this part of the meeting and explaining and answering questions on the consent calendar. My goal in doing some of that is, I know to some of us, we're a little more financially challenged than others as far as these calendars go, and I just want him to help highlight different issues that he sees and help teach us all a little bit better way of what the numbers mean. You know, this one means this to that kind of a thing. And so he will be presenting his consent calendars in the future as well. Any questions from anybody? And have a motion?
I make a motion that we accept the consent calendar from November 1st to November 30th of 2018.
I second the motion.
Vote?
Aye.
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 Motion carries. That's this. And number 7 on our agenda is zone changes for Little Creek RV Park, portion of parcel AB 1334J, not including the station, as described in the submitted RV resort legal survey description, from commercial to RV parks zone ordinance 2018-23. And this is basically, we're taking the gas station down here at the Chevron station has a footprint where the pavement is. It's on about 17 acres, and we're taking the area that they've proposed, which is around that footprint, leaving the station commercial, C2 zoning, that stays the same, and we're taking the rest of the property and making it an RV park zone. And so basically that one parcel has 2 zones. It's individually zoned. This was passed by the recommended approval by the Planning Commission. And I think that's about it. Any questions on it from anybody? Any questions from the public on it?
I just want to mention that now we do have all the check marks we didn't have the last time, so everything is checked off and submitted.
Yep.
Requirements.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, we have a motion. Any questions on it from anybody first?
Okay, I make a motion that we pass ordinance number 2018-23, an ordinance changing the zoning classification of a portion of the property not included the station as described in the attached survey description for parcel AB-1334-J from commercial to RV park zones.
Second.
Vote.
Aye.
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 Motion carries. And consider approval of reports and recommendations and announcements. Tish, why don't you go first? You're on first on there.
Okay, so this Saturday we're having the cookie exchange. We're gonna start at 1, go till 1:30. I know there's a church function going that morning, so hopefully you grab your cookies and come join us before we're done. Anything left over, we're going to donate to the Senior Citizens Center down in Hurricane, and then we're also coinciding that with a food drive cans goods, so we can donate that to the,
Food bank.
food bank down in Hurricane as well. So hopefully, if you can just drop off some cans or come and share some cookies with us, we appreciate it. So thanks.
Starts at 1 or 12?
12
It
to
starts at
1:30.
12, we're going to 1:30, so that way if people have something going in the morning, they can maybe catch us on the tail end of it.
And if anybody has canned goods, but they can't make it down here, call the town or give somebody a call and we'll come get them.
I'm personally, I'm making raspberry, white chocolate cookies, cheesecake cookies.
Show off.
Yes.
For anybody that wants to have a
They are
competition.
amazing. So if nothing else, come by to get one of my cookies, but anyway, I do plan on making a big batch of them. So I'm in competition with a few people here and see, you know, a little friendly competition. Anyway. Planning Commission, Mike McLaughlin, or? you have anything?
I'm good.
Okay. Do you have anything you want to share for Planning Commission, either of you? Any issues, any questions from anybody? All right.
Well, I have one thing, we're just talking about lot splits. Instead of going through staff, I thought all lot splits had to go through the planning commission.
Yeah, there's one ordinance that we just passed on Title 11, and it has one section that says if it's farmland, and they're just taking a large parcel and dividing it into two pieces, that it's okay for us just to say okay on it. It was just intended on, you know, and this is actually in some of the state code as well.
Because I see some of his, I see what he says about it.
Oh, yeah, especially where he's at, you know. where he-
Well, you can't do it with anything but a piece of farm ground.
Yeah,
So if you want to make your farm ground a little bit smaller, then you have the ability to do that. Or if you want to put a house for one of your kids on your farmland, you have the ability to do that without going through the entire process of subdivision and roads and streets. That's what that was about. That's what we talked about during that meeting.
And we had just found ourselves in a place where for, 9 months, because of some of the things we passed, that they come in and say, I've got 1,000 acres, I want to divide it into two pieces, and we have to say, well, you got to put turn lanes in on the highway before we can do that. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Right.
So,
You know, I have a copy of it right in front of me, and it's not just farmland, and I want to clarify that.
well, it's OS and it's ag and it's OST.
And
what you can build
no,
on.
beyond that, there's ways in which it could be a residential estate lot.
Well, show us where that is, because we'll, I don't mean right this minute, but
Okay.
you can mark that up.
I can tell you where
That
it is, 1114, It's Title 11, Chapter 1, Section 4.
Yeah, because my understanding is only on that OST property that we do.
I-
It wasn't
there-
not.
You need to check it out and see.
Forrest, make a note of that.
because any residential should go through the planning commission.
Anyway, so,
Okay, so
anyway, fire chief, do you have anything you want to share with
I don't
us?
have too many updates, just, we got a big training this weekend, 16-hour training. And then, rain's coming tomorrow, so watch the roads. And I still have burn season open. I'm gonna keep it open until, probably right before Christmas, cause we don't burn Christmas trees, so it'll be shut down after Christmas for a while, so.
Okay.
But that's about it, I think.
And don't be burning your Christmas tree in your house.
It's hard to light when it's plastic.
Big Plains Water, Mayor, do you have anything you want to share?
But boy, once you go live.
Well, it'll go, I'm telling you. It'll probably do on
I just want to thank Trevor Black for donating a rather expensive item for one of our wells, a slow start for the pump. We finally got it installed and works great. It was all through his efforts. We have well house number 1 coated in metal now, and the addition covering the pump in place. It's 100% complete. So with the slow start, that well is up and running, and it looks better than it did. So that's about it with the new things that have gone on.
Okay. Thank you. And code enforcement, Rich Osowski, he's at code enforcement training in Hawaii right now. That's what he told me he was doing.
Yes,
You
he
want
is.
to share, or?
No, we still have homework to do on that.
So, but, anyway, Rich Wasowski is taking on the job. He hasn't really started yet because we want to, probably have a meeting with our DA on any procedural things that she would like to see. And, but because he was going off to Hawaii, we decided to, put that up till he got back. So with the holidays in here, someplace we'll get on board and we'll be, working with, the DA to kind of give us some guidelines. Next one, roads and storm drainage. I gotta sign that out to you, since you said you would take care of the roads for me, but, where we're at is, there was a report of some, washout towards, Canaan, subdivision, and, I called, Kevin up and said, would you come out and, help us out with that? Kevin's on call right now. He's not here every day like he used to be, but he is on call still, and he still works for the town. And anyway, it's just on an on-call basis. Is how that way he can have his other jobs and still not get in trouble with his retirement. Next one is mosquito abatement. Marta Sosky.
Mosquitoes in Hawaii.
Yeah, she's over in Hawaii as well, so we'll pass on that one. Council, anybody got any comments? Well, can we get a motion to open up for public comment?
Make a motion, we open public comment section?
Second.
Vote?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. So, public comments, anybody want to share your heart?
Yes, I'd like to ask a question. Bruce Rick again. So we're making zoning changes which are presumably consistent with the general plan. My question is, how's the progress going on updating the general plan to represent what we know today and what is appropriate for the city today?
A couple things are happening right now. What you'd like to see is that we hire a professional, and I've made some calls on that. I don't have a firm feedback on that. I did have a meeting with an engineering firm and discovered that we already engaged them to do this for us. And I wasn't aware of that, but Ensign Engineering had already been asked to put this on paper for us. The bill on that was about $30,000. We haven't paid him anything on it yet, but that also didn't go to the depth that you and I talked about that you'd like to see happen. There's two parts of it. There's an engineering part of it. And then there's, where you probably get a city planner involved, which tells you where the grocery store should be located and, what type of businesses should be on this particular piece of ground and things like that. So we're not at the level that you would like to see right now, but we do have an engineering firm, plus we have the planning commission working up what their vision for what they want to see, for example, on Main Street. And so.
Who is Ensign?
Ensign's just an engineering firm that's done work for the town.
Rod Mills used to work for.
Rod used to work for them.
Yeah.
Okay,
Ensign did the Gateway Engineering.
yeah.
Yes.
Can we get another firm to bid on that against Ensign? Number one, I don't think Ensign's treated the town very great. I don't think their work's very good.
Is it Ensign?
Somebody who deals with that kind of stuff all the time, I'm not necessarily impressed with what they've done for us, especially when you're talking about $30,000. Sunrise Engineering is one that does a lot of work for a lot of the different towns and communities around here. We're in Washington. Most of the small towns and communities use Sunrise. I mean, there's a number of other ones as well, but don't think we should have a second bid, at least one other bid?
Yes.
A lot of heads are going up and down out there. Look, I hadn't planned on going over this, but let me share with you some of the history of Ensign. I can say that I could walk into this meeting today feeling much the same way you do about everything you said. But we found some some bills from Ensign in the town, in the process of calling them to find out what's up with the bills. Precipitated a meeting so I could get their intake on some of that, and we basically contracted them to do this mapping that pretty much gives you an overlay of here's where the zone is, here's the overlay that you can see through is it the general plan, do they match, or as you overlay it. They also mapped water lines, they've mapped future trails, they've mapped where the fire hydrants are, where the shut-off valves are. And they've done this because we asked them to, and then our staff is emailing them changes in information and things like that since the beginning of the year. But as of our meeting, no one ever signed a contract to them yet. I feel some moral obligation because we've asked them to do this work. We've had them also do some of this stuff for us because of our I don't know, because of our relationship with them. I think in good faith, they've done this stuff. Anyway, this stuff is just stuff I inherited as mayor, and not faulting Robert necessarily, but these are decisions were made before I got here.
Right.
And I feel like that there probably is some level of moralness to finish the job, or at least have them finish the job. I mean, I see holes in what they've done, so I don't know how far along they are. And he's supposed to get back with me. He hasn't done that, which, that never impresses me when you say you're going to do something you don't. We could have attained this similar job, for less money, as you mentioned. There's other ways to accomplish this, in other words. But anyway, this is already sort of bought and paid for without us writing a check yet. But
right.
So I feel like I kind of need to stay where I am right now. But in the long term, I'm not sure I disagree with anything you said. So, yeah, Robert.
And I can help elaborate a little bit. Ensign Engineering, about the time when the tax increase went out, there was a letter that came out that they had forgiven a substantial amount of debt, and that needs, we probably need to have some conversations and look at it as far as that goes. And also there was the CIB funding, which was a grant. It was a 50-50. So as we paid, they were supposed to pay to help cover that also.
Yeah.
So just as a note, there is a few of those things, and I can help elaborate and go through that and at least bring you up to speed where that was at.
Yeah, I've already on all of that. There was some grant money we were going to get from CIB to pay for this engineering, and I talked to Rod Mills about this. What is this for, and why do we have it, and do we owe the money? And he said, no, that was, he gave me the impression it was something that we were going to do, not something we had done. And so I said, oh, well, that's easy one to call. We can't afford the money, and we're going to cancel the grant. Because actually it wasn't just a grant, we had to match those funds. So that means out of our budget, we had a $20,000 grant from them, but we also had to match it with $20,000. We didn't have that. So anyway, so I canceled all of that, not knowing that it was actually for this mapping project, and because of what Rod Mills directed me to do. So.
And secondly, just FYI, Marv Wilson from Sunrise Engineering can be a contact for you. He's locally in charge of Sunrise down this way. He's been out to talk to individuals in the past at the time.
Yeah, we've got engineers knocking on our doors, so there's no shortage of those right now, wanting to help out wherever they can. Anyway, Bruce, thanks for your comment on that, and we'll talk some more as we go along on this. So, any other questions or comments?
On the side note, Margie and Rich said they're sorry to miss the meeting, but they're enjoying their last night in Hawaii.
Rub it in, rub it in.
Oh, my word. This would be perfect time to be there. It's nice and warm.
If we're gonna do any more tiny cabin projects with public restrooms, I would like to see evaporative systems go in rather than, septic tanks and leach lines. And I'm getting some, literature from the company who puts them in at Zion, and they'd be more than willing to work with us and, any of our developers, because it's a really nice system.
Nice.
It's also real expensive.
Yeah, well, better than drowning our groundwater.
Yeah. Just as a side note, while we're doing public comments, I just like to keep people up to date. I did get a developer agreement from the Jefferson Canyon project, which is across the street from the station. Land of Many Nations is another name that they use, and their developer agreement, when I first got it, when I was first mayor, had so many things in it. I got a couple pages in and just put it away, because it was just like, I was pretty much paying for everything, and he's getting all the profit. So anyway, I just told him it was a non-starter. Well, he gave me a version 2.0, and there's nothing in there that I could pick apart. So he says he's got $10 million in funding lined up as soon as we can come together on a developer agreement. So given it to our attorney, who will probably have, I'm not sure how long to take to redline it, because I'm sure there's things missing from the agreement that Sean will want to have in there. I don't have a clue what that might be, but I know Sean will. And so he has to look at it. But the point is, there's nothing really that negative in the agreement that we have to argue about. He pretty much took all the negative stuff out and want to move forward on that. So this has been going on for, 10 years? And, but he's pushing hard right now. So we'll see what happens. Anyway,
Mark,
just pass it on. Yes.
Real quick about the septic thing.
Yeah.
So the state health department has a certain recommendation or a certain rule period, that anything over so many gallons per day, doesn't matter if it's a tiny cabin or an RV park, whatever, anything, it goes based on gallons per day. Anything over a certain gallons per day has to be ran through a treatment type system and has to go through what you're talking about. And if they're under that, they don't have to be, and that's state requirements. So just heads up. It's based on gallons per day.
There's one at the head of the subway hydrant. It was great.
Any other comments? Yeah, Robert?
You said it was really a great idea doing a survey. And then, it just clicked that possibly on 59, if you could get a survey that would also talk about a center turn lane from any of those areas to get support from UDOT, you could probably get a lot of respondents with assistance from people that use the highway, Hilldale, Colorado City. They could also respond into that, along with just the few Apple Valley residents that are here, to maybe bring that more so to UDOT in that aspect. And BLM, they had a plan for 100 and whatever it is, 30 sites up here, and they're putting in the bathrooms and everything else up on Gooseberry. With the state pushing back, that may be leverage, saying, well, you have BLM putting in these locations where they're going to only allow on these sites, but they're putting in sites and they're driving traffic. You guys need to be financially responsible as anybody else for this turn lane.
That's a good idea. That's a good idea. I'll have to follow up on that. That's a great idea. So, yeah, I was surprised at the pushback on the center turn lane from UDOT in that Bubbling Wells area. They just, it's like, it's not our fault that all these people are on that road. And we did nothing planning wise to require, individual driveway on state route. Just seems ridiculous. It's not some kind of frontage road. And they just blame us for that. Didn't really want to fix the problem of by adding in, bypass roads kind of a thing. So.
And that whole area has access to the south towards where it is county land, so maybe commissioners would be interested in that too, especially with the gap in building going on down there.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, that's a good point on that.
assistance from the county.
Yeah, yeah, the counties, they seem to be really on board to want to help us with that, so. Any other comments?
Get the county to help, because most of the driveways that hit the highway were approved by the county before we were in town.
Great idea. Yeah, that's a good idea. Pressure point. Yeah, that's a good idea.
County's helped put in a couple of those cattle guards and stuff, man. Those are county cattle guards.
Okay. I was at the county meeting last night, and I was surprised. They had like 12 items on the agenda. We were in and out in 45 minutes, so I was impressed at how efficient and streamlined those guys are. They go. I make the motion. I second it. I vote. It was just amazing how they get there. That many, they have 3 zoning agents. Get to know those people better, because those are going to be the guys that can help grease the wheels. So I plan on being at those Tuesday meetings whenever they have them. So.
Chief Junior, can I ask you, do we have any more flags in the firehouse? Because the one we have out here is split, so I figured we'd ask you before we go
Usually
on.
isn't that the scouts that come in? Or wait, the town buys them and the scouts put them up.
Yeah.
I haven't seen any. The only ones I've seen out there are damaged, I think.
Oh, the one-
So I-
She said she'd bring it by tomorrow.
Anyway, are we finished with public comments? Anybody have anything else they want to share?
I make a motion, we close public comments.
Second.
Vote?
Aye.
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 Motion carries. Discussion. Gateway, need closed session?
No, sir.
And how about adjournment?
I make a motion, we adjourn.
Aye.
Vote?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
See you later, have a good It's really.
Hurry back.
I know.
I was enjoying catching up on things.
See, you're Adam?
Yes.
My name's Harold Merrick.
Nice to meet you, Harold.
I work at Water People.
Yes.
I didn't want to get off on the wrong foot here. Marty used this meeting as a little bighorn talk, and I did not. Tanya has